Undercover CEO eats late at his diner, freezes when waitress says, "They're waiting for last customer." The fluorescent lights above the counter flickered twice before settling into their usual hum. Marcus Chin sat in the cornered booth of the Bluebird Diner, his coffee gone cold an hour ago. Outside, the highway stretched dark and empty under a moonless sky. He'd been coming to this place for 3 nights now, always staying late, always watching. The worn vinyl seats, the cracked linoleum floor, the smell of burnt coffee mixed with grease, it all told him more than any quarterly report ever could. This was one of 17 diners his company owned across the Midwest, and according to the books, it was failing. But numbers lied. People didn't. The waitress, her name tag read Sarah, had been glancing at the clock every 5 minutes for the past hour. She was young, maybe 25, with tired eyes that suggested she worked more than one job. Her hands shook slightly when she refilled water glasses that didn't need refilling. Marcus checked his watch. 11:47. He'd ask for his bill soon, leave a generous tip, and drive back to the motel. Tomorrow he'd visit the diner across town, continue his undercover tour of properties the board wanted to sell. That's when he noticed the trucks. 3 pickup trucks had pulled into the parking lot 10 minutes ago, engines running, headlights off. They sat in a loose semicircle facing the diner's entrance, blocking the only exit. Nobody got out. Sarah saw him looking. Her face went pale. "Can I get you anything else?" Her voice came out too high, too forced. "Just a bill, thanks." She didn't move. Instead, she leaned in close, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. "They're waiting for the last customer." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "Who is?" "Please," her eyes darted to the trucks, then back. "You need to leave through the kitchen. Right now." The cook, a heavy-set man in his 50s, appeared from the back, wiping his hands on his apron. He wasn't looking at Marcus. He was staring out the window at those trucks, his jaw clenched so tight Marcus could see the muscle jumping. "Sarah, don't," the cook said quietly. "He doesn't know, Ray. And he doesn't need to." But Marcus was already standing, keeping his voice level. "Know what?" Sarah glanced at the empty diner. They were the only 3 people inside. She made a decision. "Every night, after we close, they come in. They take our tips. All of them. If we don't have enough." She touched her wrist, and Marcus saw the faded yellow-green of an old bruise. "Last week they broke the front window because we'd had a slow Tuesday." Ray stepped forward, his voice rough. "Kid, you seem decent. That's why she's warning you. But if you walk out that door right now, they'll know we told you something. And tomorrow night, when you're long gone, we'll still be here." Marcus looked at the trucks again. The driver's side window of the nearest one rolled down an inch. Someone was watching. Waiting. "How long has this been happening?" 6 months, Sarah whispered. "Maybe longer." They started small, just asking for money, saying they'd protect the place. Then it got worse. "Why didn't you call the police?" Ray laughed, bitter and short. "We did. 3 months ago. The cops came, asked questions, left. That night someone slashed all 4 of my tires and left a dead rat on my porch." The message was clear. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. This wasn't just his diner. This was organized. Professional. And from the way Sarah and Ray looked at those trucks, resigned, exhausted, afraid, this had been going on right under his company's nose. Under his nose. Sarah checked the clock again. "It's almost midnight. That's when we lock up. That's when they come in." Her voice cracked. "Please, just go through the kitchen. There's an alley out back. Your car is in the front lot," Marcus finished. He couldn't get to it without walking past those trucks. "Then leave it," Ray said. "Walk to the gas station 2 miles east. Call someone. Come back for it tomorrow." Marcus studied them both. Sarah, who couldn't be making more than minimum wage plus tips these men were stealing. Ray, who probably had a family, a mortgage, a life beyond this diner that he was trying to protect. both of them willing to risk retaliation to save a stranger. He thought about revealing who he was. CEO of Bluebird Holdings, the man who signed their paychecks, the one person who could actually do something about this. But if he did that now, if these men outside got even a hint that someone with power knew what was happening, Sarah and Ray would pay the price. No. He needed to be smart. How many of them usually come inside? Sarah blinked. What? When they come for the money, how many come through the door? 2 usually. Sometimes 3. Why does that? And the others stay in the trucks? Ray's eyes narrowed. Yeah. They keep the engines running. Quick getaway if anyone calls the cops. Marcus pulled out his phone, shielding the screen. He opened his banking app and started a transfer. What's your total from tips tonight? Maybe $80 between us, Sarah said. But that's not. Here's what's going to happen. Marcus kept his voice calm, steady. I'm going to walk out that front door in exactly 3 minutes. When I do, you're going to lock it behind me immediately. Don't open it again until I'm in my car and driving away. They won't let you leave, Ray said flatly. They will. Marcus hoped he sounded more confident than he felt. Because I'm going to give them exactly what they want. He pulled $500 from his wallet, emergency cash he always carried, and handed it to Sarah. This covers what they'll take from you tonight. Tomorrow, I need you both to do something for me. Sarah stared at the money like it might bite her. We can't. You can and you will. Tomorrow, I need you to write down everything. Dates, times, descriptions of the men, license plates if you remember them. Every detail. He met her eyes. Can you do that? Who are you? She whispered. Marcus smiled, tired and grim. Just a customer who stayed too late. He walked toward the door before they could argue. His heart hammered against his ribs, but his hands stayed steady. He'd negotiated billion-dollar deals in boardrooms, faced down hostile shareholders, navigated corporate warfare that would make most people's heads spin. But he'd never felt fear quite like this. Through the window, he could see movement in the nearest truck. Someone was getting out. Marcus pushed open the door and stepped into the night, hearing the lock click behind him. The parking lot smelled like diesel and threat. Marcus didn't make it 5 steps before the man from the truck blocked his path. He was tall, built like someone who'd spent time in prison yards rather than gyms. Tattoos crawled up his neck, disappearing under a baseball cap pulled low. Behind him, 2 more men climbed out of the other trucks, moving with the lazy confidence of people who knew no one would stop them. Little late for dinner, isn't it? The tall man smiled, but nothing about it reached his eyes. Just heading out. Marcus kept his voice neutral, his posture relaxed. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but running would make this worse. For him. For Sarah and Ray. Hold on now. The man stepped closer. Marcus could smell cigarettes and cheap cologne. See, we've got a thing with the folks inside. A regular arrangement. But you're not regular. Just passing through. Funny thing about people passing through. The man tilted his head. They see things. Talk about things. We don't like that. One of the other men circled around behind Marcus, cutting off any retreat to his car. The parking lot suddenly felt very small, very isolated. The nearest building was a closed gas station a quarter mile down the road. No witnesses. No help. Marcus's phone was in his pocket, but reaching for it would be a mistake. I didn't see anything, he said carefully. No? The tall man's smile widened. Then why'd that waitress whisper in your ear? Why'd the cook come out looking all serious? He stepped even closer. What did they tell you? Before Marcus could answer, the diner's door flew open. Sarah stood in the doorway, her whole body trembling but her voice clear. Leave him alone, Vince. The tall man, Vince, turned irritated. Get back inside, Sarah. This doesn't concern you. He doesn't know anything. Sarah held up the $500 Marcus had given her. Here. Take it. This is for tonight. Just let him go. Vince stared at the money, then at Marcus, his eyes sharpening with suspicion. That's a lot more than you usually pull in tips. Good night, Sarah said quickly. Regulars. He was one of them. He gave you $500? The lie hung in the air, already falling apart. Marcus saw the calculation happening behind Vince's eyes. Regular customers didn't hand over that kind of cash. Which meant Marcus was either stupid, rich, or someone who knew exactly what was happening here. Ray appeared behind Sarah. Vince, come on. You got your money. Let the man go home. Shut up, Ray. Vince didn't take his eyes off Marcus. This doesn't add up. Nobody stays this late. Nobody pays that much. And nobody. He gestured at Marcus's car, a rental sedan that suddenly looked too clean, too new. Drives a car like that and eats at a place like this unless they're looking for something. Marcus felt the moment crystallizing. He could keep lying, but Vince wasn't stupid. These men had been running this operation for months. They knew when something was off. And right now, everything about this situation screamed wrong to them. Sarah must have sensed it too, because she stepped fully outside, putting herself between Marcus and Vince. Please. He's just a traveler. He didn't. Sarah, get back inside, Marcus said quietly. Listen to him, Sarah. Vince's voice hardened. This is adult business. It's my business when you show up every night stealing from us. The words burst out of her like she'd been holding them back for months. When you threaten Ray's family. When you break our windows and slash our tires and make us afraid to close up our own workplace. The parking lot went silent. Ray closed his eyes. Sarah, no. But she wasn't stopping. 6 months of fear, exhaustion, and anger poured out in a rush. You think we don't know what you are? Loan sharks? Thugs? You prey on people who can't fight back, who can't afford lawyers, who are too scared to. Vince moved fast, grabbing her arm. You need to shut your mouth. Marcus reacted without thinking. He stepped forward, putting himself between them, his hand closing on Vince's wrist. Let her go. For a moment, nobody moved. Marcus could feel the tendons in Vince's arm, taut and ready. The other two men shifted, hands moving to their pockets. This could go bad very quickly. Then Vince smiled. Not angry, amused. You're not just passing through, are you? He released Sarah but didn't step back. You're here for a reason. Investigation? Insurance? Corporate? Marcus said nothing, which was answer enough. Corporate, Vince repeated, almost laughing. Someone finally noticed the numbers weren't adding up. He looked at Sarah and Ray. You two idiots called someone, didn't you? Thought the big company would save you. We didn't call anyone, Ray said, but his voice lacked conviction. Doesn't matter. Vince pulled out his phone, typing with his thumb while keeping his eyes on Marcus. See, we've got a system. It works because places like this stay quiet. But now you're here. Now you've seen. He hit send. My boss is going to want to talk to you. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Your boss? Yeah. Turns out this is bigger than one diner. Vince's smile turned cruel. Way bigger. And you just made it personal. Another truck pulled into the lot, newer and cleaner than the others. Someone else was coming. The new truck's headlights cut across the parking lot like searchlights. Marcus's mind raced through options, each one worse than the last. If Vince's boss arrived, if this escalated further, Sarah and Ray would pay for it long after Marcus left town. Unless he made sure they left too. Sarah, Ray, get in my car, Marcus said quietly, not taking his eyes off Vince. What? Sarah's voice cracked. Now. Unlock it and get in. Ray grabbed Sarah's arm. He's right. Move. Vince stepped forward, blocking their path. Nobody's going anywhere until. Marcus didn't let him finish. He shoved Vince hard, using the element of surprise to send the man stumbling backward into one of his associates. It bought them maybe 3 seconds. Run! Marcus shouted. Sarah and Ray bolted toward the rental car. Marcus heard the electronic locks click open, heard car doors yanking wide. Behind him, Vince was already recovering, cursing, his hand diving into his jacket. Marcus sprinted after them, keys in hand. He hit the unlock button twice more, praying the doors would stay open long enough. Ray dove into the back seat, pulling Sarah in after him. Marcus slid into the driver's seat and jammed the key into the ignition. The engine turned over just as Vince reached the car, slamming his palm against the driver's window. "You're making a big mistake." Marcus threw the car into reverse, tires squealing. The truck that had just arrived was still moving forward, trying to block the exit, but there was a gap, narrow, getting smaller by the second. Marcus spun the wheel hard, shifted into drive, and punched the accelerator. Metal scraped metal as they shot between the arriving truck and one of the parked pickups. Sarah screamed. The side mirror exploded in a shower of plastic and glass. Then they were through, fishtailing onto the highway, the diner's lights shrinking in the rearview mirror. "Oh God, oh God, oh God," Sarah was saying, over and over. Ray twisted in his seat, looking back. "They're following us. 2 trucks. They're coming." Marcus pressed the accelerator harder. The rental sedan wasn't built for high-speed chases, but it was all they had. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tight his knuckles went white. "Where's the nearest police station?" 15 miles east," Ray said. "But they'll catch us before then." "What about the sheriff's office?" "Same direction." "Marcus." Ray stopped. "That is your name, right?" "Yeah." "Marcus, these guys know every cop in the county. You heard what I said earlier, we already tried going to the police." The trucks behind them were gaining ground, their bigger engines eating up the distance. Marcus saw headlights flash in his mirror, some kind of signal between the vehicles. They were coordinating. "There!" Sarah pointed ahead. "The Starlight Motel. It's always busy, truckers, travelers. They won't try anything with witnesses around." It wasn't much of a plan, but it was something. Marcus took the next exit too fast, the car's tires protesting as they hit the off-ramp. The motel's neon sign glowed ahead, pink and blue, half the letters burned out. The parking lot was full of 18-wheelers and cars, exactly as Sarah had promised. Marcus pulled into the first space he found, threw the car into park. "Out. Now. Stay close to me." They ran toward the motel office, weaving between parked trucks. Behind them, the 2 pickup trucks screeched into the lot. But Sarah was right, there were too many people here. A group of truckers stood near the vending machines, smoking and talking. A family was unloading luggage from a minivan. A night clerk was visible through the office window. Vince's trucks slowed, circling like sharks, but they didn't stop. They couldn't make a scene here, not with this many potential witnesses. After one slow lap around the lot, they pulled back onto the highway, disappearing into the night. But Marcus knew they'd be back. This wasn't over. Inside the motel office, the clerk looked up from his phone, bored. "Help you?" 3 rooms, Marcus said, pulling out his credit card before Ray or Sarah could protest. "Separate floors if possible." The clerk shrugged and started typing. "Only got 2 floors. Best I can do is spread you out." "That's fine." Sarah was shaking so hard she had to sit down in one of the plastic lobby chairs. Ray stood at the window, watching the highway, his jaw clenched. "They know my car," he said quietly. "They know where I live. Where Sarah lives." Marcus handed him a room key. "Don't go home. Not tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'm making some calls." "Calls to who?" Ray turned, and for the first time, Marcus saw real anger in his face. "You think your company cares? You think anyone with power actually gives a damn about people like us?" "I do," Marcus said simply. Sarah looked up at him, eyes red. "Why? You don't even know us." "Because it's the right thing to do." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Ray, I need you to trust me for one night. Just one. Can you do that?" Ray studied him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "Good." Marcus scrolled through his contacts until he found the right number. "Go to your rooms. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone except me. He hit dial. I'm calling someone who can help. The phone rang once. Twice. Then a gruff voice answered. This is Grant. Marcus stepped away from the others, lowering his voice. Grant, it's Marcus Chin. I need you to mobilize a security team and contact the state police. We have a situation. Marcus spent most of the night on the phone. First with Grant Morrison, his head of corporate security. Then with his lawyer. Then with someone Grant knew at the state police who specialized in organized crime. By the time the sun came up, Marcus had barely slept, but he had a plan. He also had questions that needed answers. At 7:30, he knocked on Ray's door. The cook answered immediately, still in yesterday's clothes, looking like he hadn't slept either. We need to go back into town, Marcus said. I need to understand how big this is. Ray stared at him. You want to go back? Not to the diner. Somewhere public. Somewhere we can ask questions without attracting attention. You're serious. Dead serious. 20 minutes later, they were sitting in a different restaurant, a small breakfast place called Millie's Kitchen on Main Street. Sarah had refused to stay behind, insisting that if they were doing this, she was coming too. Marcus didn't argue. She deserved answers as much as anyone. The place was busy with the morning rush. Construction workers, office employees, retirees reading newspapers over coffee. Normal people living normal lives, unaware of what was happening after dark in their town. An older waitress approached their table, her smile practiced and warm. What can I get you folks? Marcus ordered coffee. Ray and Sarah did the same, though none of them looked hungry. When the waitress returned with their cups, Marcus took a chance. Can I ask you something? Do you ever have problems here? Late at night, when you're closing? The waitress's smile flickered. Just for a second, but Marcus caught it. Problems? What kind of problems? People asking for money. Making threats. Her hand trembled slightly as she set down the cream. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Sarah said quietly. We work at the Bluebird Diner. The one on Highway 40. We just want to know if it's happening to other people too. The waitress glanced around the restaurant, then leaned in closer. You should talk to Dennis. He owns the hardware store down the street. She stopped herself. He's dealt with it longer than anyone. She walked away before they could ask more questions. They found Dennis Harper in his hardware store 30 minutes later. He was in his 60s, with calloused hands and the kind of weathered face that came from decades of hard work. When Marcus explained why they were there, Dennis's expression went carefully blank. I'm not talking about this. Mr. Harper, please, Marcus said. We're not trying to cause trouble. We just need to understand what's happening. You want to understand? Dennis's voice rose slightly. Then understand this, you talk, you pay. You fight back, you lose everything. He gestured around his store. I've owned this place for 32 years. Last year, I finally paid off the mortgage. Then these guys show up saying I need protection, said the neighborhood was getting dangerous. Sarah leaned forward. The trucks. Pickup trucks with tinted windows? Dennis nodded slowly. Every Friday night. Like clockwork. They started asking for $50 a week. Then it was $100. Then $200. If I said no, things would happen. Vandalism. Broken locks. One time He stopped, his jaw working. One time they roughed up my son when he was closing up. Why didn't you call the police? Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. I did. 3 times. The first time, a deputy came out, took a report, nothing happened. The second time, they told me there wasn't enough evidence. The third time? Dennis laughed bitterly. The deputy said maybe I should just pay them. Said it was cheaper than dealing with constant property damage. Ray slammed his fist on the counter. Unbelievable. Believe it, Dennis said. Half the businesses on this street are paying. The grocery store, the pharmacy, that cafe across the street. We all know it's happening, but nobody talks about it because talking makes it worse. Marcus pulled out his phone and opened the Notes app. Mr. Harper, I need you to tell me everything. Dates, amounts, descriptions of the men. License plates if you remember them. Why? So you can get yourself killed? So they can come after me harder? No, Marcus met his eyes. So I can stop them. Something in his tone made Dennis pause. Who are you? Someone who's going to fix this. But I need your help. Dennis studied him for a long moment, then sighed heavily. It's the same trucks every time. 2 Chevy Silverados, 1 Ford F-150. The Ford is newer, maybe 2018 or 2019. Dark blue. The license plate has CMT in it, I remember that much. Marcus typed quickly. How many men? Usually 3. Sometimes 4. The one who does the talking, tall guy, tattoos on his neck, his name is Vince. Sarah gasped. That's him. That's the one from last night. There's a woman too. Dennis continued. She came once, maybe 2 months ago. Expensive car, nice clothes. She walked through Main Street like she owned it, pointing at different stores. After that visit, the payments went up. What did she look like? Blonde. 40s, maybe? Carried herself like someone important. Dennis shook his head. I got the feeling Vince and his guys work for her. Marcus felt the pieces clicking into place. This wasn't random thugs shaking down small businesses. This was organized, structured, methodical. Someone was running this operation like a business, and Vince was just middle management. Is there anything else? Marcus asked. Any other pattern you've noticed? Dennis hesitated, then nodded. They only target businesses that are struggling. Places where the owners can't afford lawyers or security. Places where… He stopped, looking at Marcus closely. Where the parent company doesn't pay attention. The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. What do you mean? The Bluebird Diner. It's part of a chain, right? Owned by some corporation. Same with the pharmacy, it's a franchise. The grocery store is owned by an investment group in Chicago. Dennis's eyes hardened. Someone knew which businesses were vulnerable. Someone knew which owners were too far away to notice. Marcus's phone felt heavy in his hand. How many businesses total? On Main Street alone? At least 8. Maybe more. 8 businesses. Hundreds of dollars a week each. 4 months. Marcus did the math and felt sick. Mr. Harper, thank you for talking to us. What are you going to do? Marcus stood, his jaw set. I'm going to end this. By nightfall, the Bluebird Diner was ready to reopen. Marcus stood across the street in the shadows of a closed gas station, watching Sarah unlock the front door. His stomach churned with anxiety, but the plan was solid. It had to be. Grant Morrison stood beside him, arms crossed, wearing all black like the rest of his security team. You sure about this? We could just hand everything to the state police and let them handle it. The state police need evidence, Marcus said. Statements aren't enough. We need these guys on camera, making threats, taking money. We need proof that holds up in court. And if something goes wrong? That's why you're here. Grant didn't look convinced, but he didn't argue. Behind them, 3 unmarked vehicles sat in the parking lot of an abandoned auto shop, each containing 2 armed security personnel. Another vehicle was positioned at the highway entrance. A quarter-mile down the road, 2 state police units waited, engines off, ready to move on Grant's signal. The plan was simple. Let Vince and his crew show up like they always did. Record everything. Wait until they made their threats explicit. Then shut them down with overwhelming force before anyone got hurt. Simple. Except nothing about this felt simple. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, we're inside. Ray's scared. He texted back, you don't have to do this. We can call it off. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then no. We finish this tonight. Grant's radio crackled softly. Team 2 in position. Camera 6 is live. The security team had spent all afternoon installing hidden cameras throughout the diner, in the corners, above the register, in the parking lot. Every angle covered. But cameras didn't stop bullets, and Marcus knew these men were dangerous. Inside the diner, Sarah moved through her routine with mechanical precision. She wiped down tables that were already clean. Ray stood at the grill, cooking nothing, just standing there because movement was better than waiting. The lights were bright, the open sign glowing, but no customers came. Word had spread fast in small towns. People knew something was happening at the Bluebird Diner. Marcus checked his watch. 10:45. Vince and his crew usually showed around midnight, after legitimate customers were gone. 15 minutes to wait. 15 minutes for something to go wrong. Boss, Grant said quietly. You should know, we ran those license plates Dennis gave us. The trucks are registered to a shell company. We're still tracing ownership, but it's buried under layers. The woman Dennis mentioned? Nothing yet. But if she's smart, she's kept her name off everything official. Grant paused. These people aren't amateurs. Marcus knew that. He'd seen it in Vince's eyes last night. The confidence of someone who'd done this before, who believed he was untouchable. His phone buzzed again. This time it was his lawyer. Got the court order. If your evidence is solid, we can freeze their accounts by morning. If the evidence was solid. If everything went according to plan. If nobody got hurt. Too many ifs. At 11:15, a pair of headlights appeared on the highway. Marcus felt his pulse spike, but the car drove past. Just a traveler, heading somewhere else. They're late, Grant muttered. They'll come. But doubt crept in. What if they knew? What if someone had tipped them off? Small towns had eyes everywhere, and Vince had been running this operation for months. He had to have sources, people who told him when things changed. Marcus pulled out his phone to text Sarah, to tell her they should abort. That's when he saw them. 3 trucks, approaching slowly from the opposite direction. Not speeding, not trying to draw attention. Just 3 vehicles pulling into the diner's parking lot like it was the most natural thing in the world. Contact, Grant said into his radio. All teams stand by. The trucks arranged themselves in the same formation as before, blocking the exit, engines running. But this time, something was different. Marcus counted 5 men climbing out instead of 3. And they weren't casual about it. They moved with purpose, spreading out, checking corners. They're being careful, Grant observed. They suspect something. Marcus's chest tightened. Can your team handle 5? We can handle 20. Question is whether they're armed. Through the diner's window, Marcus saw Sarah freeze behind the counter. She'd seen them too. Ray emerged from the kitchen, his face pale even from this distance. Vince was the first to reach the door. He tried the handle, locked. He knocked, hard and deliberate. Sarah didn't move. He knocked again, harder. She needs to let them in, Marcus whispered. That's the plan. Let them in, let them make the threats, get it on camera. But Sarah wasn't moving. She stood behind the counter, paralyzed. Vince pulled out his phone, and Marcus realized with horror what was about to happen. If Vince called whoever was running this operation, if he reported that something felt wrong, the whole thing would fall apart. Worse, they'd know someone was onto them. They'd disappear, restructure, come back smarter and more careful. Sarah opened the door. Marcus breathed, even though she couldn't hear him. One of the other men walked to the side window and cupped his hands to peer inside. He said something to Vince and pointed. Vince put his phone away and smiled. Then he gestured, and all 5 men moved toward the entrance together. Not just Vince and one partner like usual. All of them. This is wrong, Grant said. Boss, this doesn't feel right. Marcus's instincts screamed the same thing. But they were committed now. Sarah was inside, Ray was inside, and those men were seconds from entering. Sarah finally moved. She walked to the door, her whole body shaking, and reached for the lock. Grant's radio crackled. Team 4, we've got another vehicle approaching from the south. Black SUV, tinted windows. Marcus's blood went cold. The woman. The one Dennis had mentioned. This wasn't just a routine collection anymore. The lock clicked open, and Vince pushed through the door, his 4 associates following close behind. The last one propped the door open with his boot, a clear message that they weren't planning a quick visit. Well, well, Vince's voice carried across the parking lot, loud enough for the cameras to catch. Didn't think you'd actually open up tonight, Sarah. That took guts. Sarah backed toward the register. We're closed. You need to leave. Closed? Vince laughed. But your sign says open. And we've got business to discuss. The black SUV pulled into the lot, parking behind the trucks. The driver's door opened. A blonde woman in her 40s stepped out, wearing an expensive coat despite the warm night. She walked toward the diner with the confidence of someone who owned everything she touched. Grant gripped his radio. Boss, give the word and we move in. Marcus watched the woman enter the diner, watched her survey the space like a predator sizing up prey. This was it, the person running the operation, walking into their trap. But something felt wrong. Something felt very, very wrong. Inside the diner, the woman smiled at Sarah. Then she looked directly at the camera hidden above the register. And winked. She knows, Marcus said. She knows about the cameras. Grant was already on the radio. All teams be ready to. Wait. Marcus cut him off. If she knows about the cameras, why did she come? Inside the diner, the blonde woman walked slowly toward Sarah, her heels clicking against the linoleum. She didn't look worried. She looked amused. Sarah, honey, the woman said, her voice carrying through the audio feed. You've had quite the week, haven't you? Meeting important people. Making phone calls. Thinking you could be brave. Sarah's back hit the counter. I don't know what you're talking about. No? The woman pulled out her phone and held it up. On the screen was a photo, grainy but clear enough. It showed Marcus, Sarah, and Ray leaving the hardware store that morning. See, the thing about small towns is everyone talks. Dennis Harper mentioned you stopped by. Asked a lot of questions. Got him all worked up about standing up to the big bad criminals. Ray stepped forward from the kitchen. You need to leave. Now. The woman turned to him, her smile never wavering. Ray. Sweet Ray, with your daughter in nursing school. How is Jessica doing? Still at County General for her clinicals? Ray's face went white. Don't you dare. I'm not threatening anyone, the woman said smoothly. I'm simply showing you that I pay attention. That I know things. Like I know about the cars parked at the abandoned auto shop across the highway. The ones that have been sitting there since this afternoon. Marcus felt his stomach drop. I know about the state police units waiting down the road, she continued. And I know about the man who's been asking questions all over town, pretending to be nobody important. She looked directly at the camera again. Hello, Mr. Chen. Yes, I know who you are. CEO of Bluebird Holdings. Net worth approximately $300 million. Currently staying at the Starlight Motel under your real name because you're not very good at this undercover thing. Grant swore under his breath. We need to move in. Now. But Marcus's mind was racing. If she knew everything, why was she here? Why walk into a trap unless... It's not a trap for her, Marcus said suddenly. We're the ones in the trap. As if on cue, headlights flooded the parking lot. More trucks. 6 of them, coming from both directions on the highway, boxing in Grant's security vehicles. Men poured out, at least 15 of them, maybe more. All teams, we have multiple hostiles, Grant shouted into the radio. Converge on the diner! But the newcomers were already moving, spreading out in a coordinated pattern that spoke of military training. 2 of them approached each security vehicle, blocking doors, ensuring Grant's people couldn't exit without starting a firefight. Marcus started running toward the diner. Boss, wait! Grant grabbed his arm. You can't. She wants me, Marcus said. That's the point. She brought all these people here to prove she's in control. Inside the diner, the woman was still talking to Sarah. Here's what's going to happen. Your boss, your real boss, is going to walk through that door in about 30 seconds. and we're going to have a conversation about how business works in this town. You're insane, Sarah said. You're on camera. Everything you've said is inadmissible without proper chain of custody, proper warrants, proper procedures. The woman's smile widened. I'm a lawyer, sweetie. I know exactly what I'm doing. By the time Mr. Chen's lawyers get court orders and subpoenas, these cameras will have mysteriously malfunctioned and the footage will be corrupted. It happens all the time. Marcus burst through the diner's door. The woman turned, her expression triumphant. There he is. Mr. Chen. The hero. Vince and his men shifted, surrounding Marcus. But they didn't grab him. They just stood there, a wall of muscle and threat. Let them go, Marcus said, gesturing to Sarah and Ray. This is between you and me. Oh, I don't think so. They're part of this now. They involved themselves the moment they told you about our arrangement. The woman walked closer. Let me introduce myself properly. My name is Catherine Voss. I'm a partner at Voss and Sterling Legal Services. I also provide consulting for various business enterprises in this region. You mean extortion? I mean protection services. Conflict resolution. Risk management. Catherine's voice remained pleasant. You see, Mr. Chen, your company owns 17 diners in this area. 17 struggling businesses that corporate headquarters has been planning to sell off. I checked the quarterly reports. They're public record. Marcus said nothing. These businesses fail because people like you don't care about them. You're too busy with shareholder meetings and profit margins to notice when your employees can't make rent. When your equipment breaks down and nobody fixes it. When your managers embezzle and nobody audits. She gestured around the diner. So yes, I found a way to profit from your negligence. I provide a service, and people pay for it. That's capitalism, Mr. Chen. That's theft. No, Catherine said coldly. Theft is what you do. You extract wealth from communities, provide nothing in return, and wonder why places like this die. I'm just honest about it. Outside, Marcus could hear shouting. Grant's team was trying to intervene, but Catherine's people had them contained. The state police were probably moving in, but they were minutes away. Minutes that felt like hours. Sarah found her voice. You can't get away with this. Catherine turned to her. Honey, I already have. For 6 months. And I'll keep getting away with it because people like you. She gestured to Sarah, Ray, Marcus. You always think the rules will protect you. But the rules protect people like me. We have evidence, Marcus said. Statements. License plates. Financial records. Which you obtained through illegal surveillance. Which will be thrown out. Catherine checked her watch. Now here's my offer. You go back to your corporate office. You stop asking questions. You sell these diners like you planned, and we never speak again. Everyone walks away. And if I refuse? Catherine's smile vanished. Then accidents happen. Buildings burn. People get hurt. And you, Mr. Chen, learn that your money doesn't protect you from everything. The diner went silent. Then Marcus heard it, sirens in the distance, growing louder. Catherine heard them too. Her expression flickered, just for a second. Last chance? She said. Marcus looked at Sarah, terrified but standing her ground. At Ray, fists clenched, ready to fight despite the odds. At the cameras still recording everything, capturing Catherine's face, her words, her admission. He looked back at Catherine and smiled. You made one mistake. What's that? You assumed I came here alone. The sirens grew deafening. Red and blue lights flooded the parking lot, not 2 state police units, but 8. Behind them, 3 black SUVs with federal plates. Catherine's face went pale. The diner's back door burst open, and 2 FBI agents entered, weapons drawn. Catherine Voss, one of them announced. You're under arrest for racketeering, extortion, and conspiracy. The diner erupted into chaos. Vince lunged toward the back exit, but Grant's security team had already blocked it. 2 of Catherine's men tried to run for the trucks, only to find FBI agents surrounding the vehicles, weapons drawn. Within seconds, 15 people were on the ground, hands behind their heads, while federal agents moved through the scene with practiced efficiency. Catherine stood frozen, her composure finally cracking. "You can't. This is illegal search and seizure. I have rights. I want my lawyer." "You are a lawyer," the lead FBI agent said dryly, pulling out handcuffs. "And we have warrants. Plural. For you, your associates, and every property connected to your operation." He nodded toward Marcus. "Mr. Chin provided us with evidence 3 days ago. We've been building this case ever since." Sarah's head snapped toward Marcus. 3 days? But you only came to the diner 2 nights ago." Marcus said nothing, watching as Catherine was cuffed and read her rights. Vince was next, still cursing, still struggling. One by one, Catherine's men were processed, identified, and loaded into police vehicles. Ray walked over slowly, his expression unreadable. 3 days. You said you were just a customer passing through. I was never just passing through, Marcus admitted quietly. The lead FBI agent, his badge identified him as Special Agent Carver, approached Marcus. "Mr. Chin, we'll need statements from everyone. Your security chief already gave us the camera footage, but we'll need the originals for evidence." "You'll have everything," Marcus said. "Grant has it organized." "Good," Carver glanced at Sarah and Ray. "You two showed real courage tonight. Most people would have run." Sarah shook her head slowly, still processing. "I don't understand. If you knew about this 3 days ago, why did we have to go through tonight? Why put us in danger?" Carver looked at Marcus, eyebrows raised. "You want to tell them, or should I?" Marcus took a breath. Outside, the last of Catherine's crew was being loaded into a transport vehicle. The parking lot looked like a law enforcement convention. FBI, state police, county sheriff, even a few local cops who'd apparently been kept out of the loop intentionally. "I need to tell you something," Marcus began. "And you're not going to like it." Ray crossed his arms. "Try us. My name is Marcus Chin. I'm the CEO of Bluebird Holdings, the company that owns this diner. But I didn't come here 2 nights ago. I came here 7 days ago." Sarah blinked. "What?" "I was the guy in the Red Sox cap who sat at the counter for 3 hours on Tuesday night. And the businessman working on his laptop Thursday afternoon. And the trucker who only ordered coffee Friday morning." Marcus met their eyes. "I've been coming here for a week, watching, documenting everything." Ray's jaw tightened. "You were investigating us?" "I was investigating the operation. Corporate headquarters flagged this location because the numbers weren't adding up. Revenue was down 30% over 6 months, but customer counts were steady. Food costs were normal. Labor costs were normal. The money was just disappearing." "Our tips," Sarah said quietly. "They were stealing our tips. More than that. They were skimming from the register, padding vendor invoices, taking protection money from Ray when he worked closing shifts alone." Marcus pulled out his phone and showed them a spreadsheet. Over 6 months, Catherine's operation took approximately $47,000 from this diner alone. Across all 8 businesses Dennis mentioned? Close to $300,000 each. The number hung in the air. "So you knew," Ray said, his voice hard. "When I told you about them that first night, when Sarah warned you, you already knew everything." "No. I knew money was missing. I suspected extortion, but I had no proof. No faces. No names. No pattern." Marcus pocketed his phone. "That night, when Sarah warned me and you both tried to protect a stranger, that's when I knew for certain. And that's when I knew I had to stop it." Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. "You used us. You put us in danger to catch them." "No," Marcus's voice sharpened. "I put myself in danger. I'm the one who walked out into that parking lot. I'm the one Vince threatened. I brought in federal investigators, security teams, and enough backup to make sure nobody got hurt." "But you lied to us," Sarah said. "You let us think you were just some guy passing through. You let us worry about you when you were the one in control the whole time." Marcus wanted to argue, to defend his choices, but he couldn't. She was right. Agent Carver cleared his throat. For what it's worth, Mr. Chen contacted us immediately after that first confrontation. He provided evidence, wore a wire during his conversations with Dennis Harper and other business owners, and coordinated with state and federal authorities. Without his cooperation, Catherine Voss would still be operating. How long have you been investigating her? Ray asked. 2 years, Carver admitted. She's smart. Always stayed just far enough removed from the actual crimes. Used intermediaries, shell companies, legal threats to keep people quiet. We knew she was dirty, but we couldn't prove it. Not until Mr. Chen handed us recorded admissions, financial records, and victim testimonies all tied together. Sarah looked at Marcus, her expression complicated. You're really the owner? The actual owner of this place? Yes. For how long? My company acquired the Bluebird chain 3 years ago. 17 locations across 4 states. I've visited 12 of them in the past 6 months. Marcus gestured around the worn diner. This one was scheduled to be sold next quarter. The board said it was a lost cause. And now? Ray asked quietly. Marcus looked at the cracked vinyl booths, the flickering lights, the ancient coffee maker that probably should have been replaced a decade ago. He thought about Sarah working double shifts to make rent. About Ray protecting his daughter's future. About Dennis Harper paying extortion for months because he had nowhere else to turn. He thought about Catherine's words, you extract wealth from communities, provide nothing in return, and wonder why places like this die. She'd been wrong about a lot of things. But not that. Now I'm going to fix it, Marcus said. This diner isn't closing. None of them are. And everyone who worked here while this was happening, everyone who lost tips, who paid protection money, who was threatened or hurt, they're getting reimbursed. Every dollar. Sarah's eyes widened. You can't, that's tens of thousands of dollars. $47,312, Marcus corrected. Just from this location. And yes, I can. It's my responsibility. This happened on my watch, in my business. That makes it my fault. Ray studied him for a long moment. You really mean that? I do. Outside, the last police car pulled away, leaving just the FBI's evidence collection team and Grant's security personnel. The parking lot was finally quiet, the danger past. Agent Carver handed Marcus a card. We'll need you available for depositions. This case is going to take months to prosecute fully. I'll be here, Marcus said. After Carver left, the 3 of them stood in the empty diner, owner, waitress, and cook, surrounded by the evidence of the night's confrontation. Someone had knocked over a napkin dispenser. There was a coffee stain on the floor. The door Vince had propped open hung slightly crooked on its hinges. So what happens now? Sarah asked. Do we just go back to normal? Marcus shook his head. No. Normal wasn't working. Normal let this happen. He pulled out a chair and sat down, suddenly exhausted. We're going to rebuild. New equipment. Fair wages. Real security. And I'm going to be here to make sure it's done right. You. Ray raised an eyebrow. The CEO is going to personally oversee one diner? This diner and 16 others. I'm going to visit every single location that was neglected. Every place where corporate headquarters looked the other way while employees struggled. Marcus met their eyes. Starting here. If you'll let me. Sarah sat down across from him. I tried to save your life that night. I know. And you were the boss the whole time. I know. She laughed, slightly hysterical. That's insane. That's actually insane. Ray joined them at the table, and for a moment, none of them spoke. Outside, dawn was breaking, painting the sky pink and orange. A new day, literally and figuratively. $47,000. Sarah said finally. You're really giving it back? Every cent. Marcus promised. Plus interest. Plus wages for tonight, hazard pay, and anything else my lawyers tell me I owe you. Your lawyers must hate you. Probably. Ray drummed his fingers on the table. This place needs more than money, you know. It needs a manager who gives a damn. Equipment that works. A menu that people actually want to eat. I know, Marcus said. That's why I'm hiring you. Ray stopped drumming. What? General manager. Full benefits. Salary, not hourly. You know this place, you know the community, and you stood up to armed criminals to protect your staff. Marcus looked at Sarah. And you, how would you feel about being assistant manager? Training new staff, helping rebuild the culture here? Sarah stared at him. Are you serious? Completely. She looked at Ray, then back at Marcus. We don't have management experience. You have something better. You have integrity. Marcus stood, extending his hand. So what do you say? Want to help me fix this place? Ray looked at Sarah. Sarah looked at Ray. Something unspoken passed between them, the shared experience of survival, of standing together against impossible odds. Ray stood and shook Marcus's hand. Yeah, I think we do. Sarah joined them, her grip surprisingly strong. But we're doing this right. No more corporate neglect. No more ignoring problems until they explode. Agreed, Marcus said. And you're going to actually listen to us. Not just pretend to listen, actually listen. Agreed. And Sarah paused, a small smile breaking through. You're going to tell us every time you go undercover in your own restaurants. Deal? Marcus laughed, the sound surprising him. Deal. Outside, the sun continued to rise over the Bluebird Diner, its light catching on the cracked sign that had seen better days. But better days were coming. 6 weeks later, Marcus stood in the parking lot of the Bluebird Diner, barely recognizing the place. The cracked sign had been replaced with a new one, still the same Bluebird logo, but brighter, cleaner, impossible to miss from the highway. New LED lights illuminated the parking lot, eliminating the dark corners where trucks used to idle with their headlights off. Security cameras were visible now, mounted openly with small signs that read, "Protected 24/7. But the biggest changes were inside. Marcus pushed open the door, new frame, solid lock, and was hit by the smell of fresh paint and coffee. The old vinyl booths had been reupholstered in deep blue. The cracked linoleum replaced with clean tile. New tables, new chairs, new everything. Behind the counter, Sarah was training a young woman who couldn't have been more than 19. Her name tag read, Jessica, Ray's daughter, taking a semester off from nursing school to help with the family business. No, see, you hold the pot like this, Sarah was saying, demonstrating. Less chance of spilling, and customers can see the label if they want decaf. Jessica nodded, concentrating hard. Got it. Sarah noticed Marcus and smiled. Hey, boss. Didn't expect you until tonight. Couldn't stay away, Marcus admitted. How's the lunch rush? Packed. We actually ran out of the Turkey Club special. Ray's making more now. She gestured around the full diner, every table occupied, a line of people waiting for takeout. It's been like this since we reopened. Marcus felt something warm settle in his chest. That's good. That's really good. Ray emerged from the kitchen carrying plates, moving with the efficiency of someone who'd worked restaurants his whole life. But there was something different about him now. His shoulders weren't hunched, his jaw wasn't clenched. He looked lighter somehow. Marcus. You're early. Ray delivered the plates to a table of construction workers, then joined them at the counter. We need to talk about the supply order. The distributor you set us up with is great, but we're going through potatoes twice as fast as projected. Because your loaded fries are amazing, Sarah interjected. People are ordering them specifically. We've had customers drive from 2 towns over. Then we'll increase the order, Marcus said simply. Whatever you need. Ray pulled out a tablet, another new addition, and showed Marcus the inventory system. I've been tracking everything. Coffee consumption, popular menu items, peak hours. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. They spent 20 minutes going over numbers, Marcus deferring to Ray's expertise, asking questions instead of giving orders. This was Ray's diner now. Marcus just signed the checks. Jessica approached with the coffee pot, pouring refills with careful precision. Mr. Chun, can I ask you something? Of course. Dad said you used to come in here undercover? Like, pretending to be a regular customer. She glanced at Sarah, who was grinning. Is that true? It is. That's so weird. Why didn't you just tell people who you were? Marcus considered the question. Because people act differently when they know the boss is watching. I wanted to see the truth, the real problems, the real people. If I'd walked in wearing a suit, announcing myself, everyone would have told me what they thought I wanted to hear. And instead, you almost got killed by loan sharks. Jessica said matter-of-factly. Well, yes. But you also stopped them. Dad said they were hurting a lot of people. We stopped them. Marcus corrected. Your father, Sarah, and about 20 other people showed real courage that night. I just had the resources to back them up. Ray cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable with the praise. Speaking of backing people up, Dennis Harper called this morning. Wanted to know if you're serious about the business recovery fund. Marcus nodded. Completely serious. Every business that paid Catherine's operation gets reimbursed. Plus access to low-interest loans for repairs and upgrades. I've got lawyers finalizing the structure now. He cried. Ray said quietly. Dennis. On the phone. Said nobody's ever cared about his hardware store like that. The diner went quiet for a moment. Then Sarah broke the silence. Okay, enough getting emotional. We've got customers. She handed Jessica a notepad. Table 6 needs their order taken. You ready? Jessica straightened. Ready. As she walked toward the table, Sarah turned back to Marcus. She's good. Quick learner, great with people. In a few months, she could run a shift by herself. Does she want to? Marcus asked. I thought she was going back to nursing school. She is. But she's thinking about healthcare administration now instead of clinical work. Says she wants to help run things, make systems better. Sarah's expression softened. Funny how watching her dad become a manager inspired that. Ray ducked his head, embarrassed. She's just being nice. She's being honest. Sarah countered. You're good at this, Ray. Really good. The lunch rush continued for another hour. Marcus stayed, watching Ray coordinate the kitchen and dining room like a conductor leading an orchestra. Watching Sarah train staff with patience and precision. Watching customers enjoy their meals in a space that finally felt safe and welcoming. Around 2:30, the crowd thinned. Marcus found himself sitting at the counter with a fresh cup of coffee, the same spot where he'd sat 6 weeks ago, pretending to be someone else. Sarah joined him, taking a rare break. You know what's weird? I still can't believe you're the actual owner. Like, my brain knows it, but it doesn't feel real. Does it bother you? No. Maybe at first, yeah. Felt like you'd lied to us. She stirred sugar into her coffee. But I get it now. You were trying to help. You just went about it in the weirdest way possible. Marcus laughed. Fair assessment. The other diners, are you really going to visit all of them? Already started. I've been to 4 so far. Found problems at 3 of them. Nothing as extreme as here, but still, things that corporate should have caught and didn't. And you're fixing all of them? Trying to. Sarah was quiet for a moment, then said, Catherine was right about one thing. That night, when she said companies extract wealth and give nothing back. She was right. Marcus flinched but didn't argue. But you're trying to do it differently now. Sarah continued. That counts for something. It counts for a lot, actually. Near the register, mounted on the wall, was a new sign in clean white letters. If you feel unsafe, we stay open together. It had been Sarah's idea. Marcus had loved it immediately. You think it'll actually help? Sarah asked, following his gaze. If someone's in trouble, you think they'll feel safe enough to ask? I don't know, Marcus admitted. But it sends a message. That this place is different. That we care about more than just profit. The door opened, and a young couple entered, looking around appreciatively at the renovated space. Jessica greeted them with a bright smile, showing them to a booth. Ray emerged from the kitchen, surveying his domain with satisfaction. You heading out, Marcus? Soon. I wanted to see the place at full operation. Make sure everything's working. It's working, Ray confirmed. Better than working. This place feels alive again. Sarah stood, refilling Marcus's coffee without asking. So what's next? For you, I mean. 2 more diners this week. Then I'm meeting with the board to discuss expanding the recovery program to other chains we own. Marcus paused. They think I'm crazy. Spending millions on locations they wanted to sell. Are you crazy? Ray asked. Probably. Good, Sarah said firmly. The world needs more crazy people like you. Marcus stayed another hour, just watching. Watching Jessica take orders with growing confidence. Watching Ray manage his team with quiet competence. Watching Sarah turn first-time customers into regulars with her warm service. This was what success looked like. Not quarterly reports or stock prices, this. People working with dignity. A business serving its community. A space where someone who felt unsafe could ask for help and actually receive it. As the sun began to set, Marcus finally stood to leave. Ray shook his hand. Sarah hugged him. Jessica waved goodbye. Same time next week? Ray asked. Same time next week, Marcus confirmed. Outside, the new lights were already coming on, bright and welcoming. The parking lot that had once been a trap now felt open, safe. As Marcus walked to his car, he noticed something else. Other businesses on the highway had started improving their lighting too. Installing cameras. Taking security seriously. Change spreading, ripple by ripple. His phone buzzed. A text from Dennis Harper. Hardware store reopening party this Saturday. You coming? Marcus smiled and typed back, wouldn't miss it. He sat in his car for a moment, looking back at the Bluebird Diner. Through the window, he could see the evening shift starting, new faces arriving to relieve the lunch crew. The place would stay open until midnight, then open again at 6 a.m. day after day, serving people who needed more than just food, who needed consistency, safety, dignity. Catherine Voss was in federal prison awaiting trial. Vince and his associates had taken plea deals. The 16 other businesses in town were recovering. And Marcus Chin, CEO worth $300 million, had learned something more valuable than any quarterly profit. Sometimes the best way to lead was to actually see the people you served. Sometimes the best way to fix things was to admit they were broken. And sometimes, just sometimes, one person caring enough to do the right thing could change everything. Marcus started his car and pulled onto the highway, the Bluebird Diner's lights glowing steady in his rearview mirror. Tomorrow, he'd visit the next location. The next community. The next group of people who'd been overlooked for too long. But tonight, he'd done something good. Tonight, the Bluebird Diner was safe. And that was enough. The end.